Habarigani, my good people. Y'all know Cheryl and I was coming in with the Habarigani. That's right. Happy Kwanzaa. It's the
Oh yeah,
first
that's right.
day. That's right. It's the first day of Kwanzaa. We're talking about the seven principles of the funky dope in Guzo Saba. And when we say Habarigani, that means like what's the word for the day? And the first principle is umoja, and that one, of course, is all about unity. So I love Kwanzaa. I remember when I was a kid, maybe I was about maybe like about 9 or 10 years old when my aunt Kawanis, she was in college, and she brought home like the whole Kwanzaa concept, and kids we were like, we ain't gonna be able to get no we, we ain't gonna be able to get no presents for Christmas. What kind of holiday is that? Anybody else can relate to their first Kwanzaa experience and how you were just so superficial and you thought it was all about gifts, and then it took that black power, family member to be like, listen here, it ain't about the gifts. So Kwanzaa was introduced to us at a very early age, and I think I remember. I should have had my aunt come in, but I think I remember him. How do you say it? Is it Mala Karenga? I think I know how to say
Malanga.
it. Okay, all right. So I remember. I think I remember him actually coming to Tri C Community College when I was a kid, and he kind of talked about Kwanzaa. I just remember him with the glasses, and he was light complex, kind of a chubby guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that was just something that I don't know, but I believe that he did come through Tri C when I was a kid to kind of teach, about Kwanzaa. So let me just edit the privacy here. Oh, here we go, public. All right, there we go. All right, so Facebook and everybody can know we're in the chat. So again, we're talking about Kwanzaa. Welcome to this is our 35th episode. We're getting up there. We're getting mature.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're getting mature. So welcome to our podcast. The name of our podcast is The Dumbest that people say about black hair, and we've been going 35 episodes strong. And this platform is really for any and everybody about textured hair, but it's really focused to our licensed community. That would be our beauty, our cosmetologists, our barbers, and of course our wonderful customers. That way you can get the word and go back to your stylist or your barber and say, hey, y'all need to get on that podcast with Ladosha and Cheryl because they got a whole nother conversation going on over there when it comes to Afro textured
Yeah.
hair. And again, with today being the first day of Kwanzaa, and when we say Habaragani, the word is umoja, and that's unity. So ain't nobody in this world more unifying than Cheryl and I. Am I correct, Cheryl?
If you're on the right information.
If you're on the right now, if you're pseudo, oh boy, you're gonna be in a whole bunch of trouble. But that's okay, pseudo people. Cheryl and I, we're gonna get you together because I used to be some of me is still pseudo. So this topic today, it is because hey, I'm just gonna keep it 100. I was trained under the Milady's Book of Cosmetology, and we know that the Milady's Book of Cosmetology, they done missed some stuff, but that's okay because that's what we're here for. I see
Absolutely.
my boss is in the chat. What's up, Lovina? That's a good boss, by the way. That's right. See, everybody wonder how did Ladosha get to where she's at today? My boss, your number one fan just popped in, Andrea.
Hey.
Andrea, we're still trying to move to San Diego, aren't we? Especially after that blizzard. Don't worry, Cheryl. Andrea and I will be your neighbors real soon. You cannot hide from the Drea and the Dosha. Tell her, Andrea. That's how it's going down. So today we are having a really now this podcast is going to be unlike any other because you guys are going to get just a little taste of what Cheryl has to offer when it comes to Afro cosmetology. And so this is not This is not going to be the platform for the dumb ish, okay? So we're just telling you guys right now, if you're coming with your pseudo stuff, Cheryl is going to be like ready to help you guys get on the right path. And don't worry if you don't get it right, because Key Lolo, I'm gonna instigate this whole conversation, all right? And this conversation is about, y'all done heard Cheryl say it once, and she just said it one too many times. And so now I want her to clear this whole thing up about Afro hair being first. Because, here are some of the things that we've been accused of, Cheryl.
Okay.
Okay, you guys ready? Now, you guys, if you have heard this, I want you to drop a yes in the chat, put a Y. No, better yet, put a thumbs up and a thumbs down. And while you're at it, hit that thumbs up if you're watching us on any of the platforms. Thumbs up and hit the heart button. So here's what they are saying about African American cosmetologists and barbers today. Now remember, this is going right next to Cheryl's statement that Afro hair is the first texture. So you guys, and I know, well, how can it be first when African American or black or colored, you know, the colored girls, duh, 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 duh. They don't know that song, do they? And the colored girls say, duh, 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 duh. Y'all, they too young, Cheryl. I digress. They don't know about the colored girls. So here's what they're saying about African American cosmetologists and barbers. And now we're going to have to include your natural hairstylists and locticians. So since y'all want to be like us, y'all in this too, all right? Even if y'all don't have no license. Here we go. Number one, black hairstylists, black barbers, African Americans, colored, Negroes, whatever y'all want to, hoteps. I can't stand that they done reduced us to that horrible word. So this is what y'all problem is today. Number one, you guys are cookie cutters. Is that true? Hit a thumbs up. Is that a yes or a thumbs down? That the people in our industry who are colored, or if you specialize in textured hair, we're just some cookie cutter, quote unquote, professionals. By the way, Key Lolo is up there moving her hand. Y'all definitely got some attitudes up in there, so that's another problem that y'all coloreds have. All right, all right. Lack of innovation. Y'all ain't did nothing since Dr. Morrow. So shut up, Key Lolo. When you gonna bring something new to the table? Okay. That's another thing there. Now, all of this is coming from our YouTubers. Our social media hairstylists. These are some of the things that I'm hearing them say about licensed beauticians, cosmetologists, barbers, natural, because there are some states like Ohio we require education for our natural hairstylists and your locticians and your naturalistas who are now professionals, even though you're on the other end of that spectrum. So they're saying that we're cookie cutters, we have an attitude, we lack innovation, we haven't done anything since Dr. Morrow, we're definitely money hungry. Is this true or not? Come on, guys. We need a yes or no. Put your thumbs up in the chat or a thumbs down. We are texturism bigots. We're just some bigots when it comes to that whole texture thing. We only focus on our kind. So watch out, Cheryl. You're talking about we're first, okay? We're also bitter. We're very bitter because the natural hair movement has really just, they caught us off guard. So that's what's wrong with the African American, the black, the color, the Negro, the hoteps, the woke hairstylists and barbers. Okay, we are just bitter. We're also jealous because we don't nearly have as many followers as the influencers and the content creators. We are lacking popularity, so we're definitely jealous. And then last but not least, they're saying that we are underperforming. So if you are a licensed professional, um, and or you call yourself a professional whatever, because some people are not licensed and they are doing this, but these comments are mostly spoken about licensed cosmetologists, barbers, your natural hairstylist, and your locticians. That means like perhaps maybe the licensed cosmetologist is only doing locked hair. So these are the statements that we are hearing. And again, we are cookie cutters. We have an attitude. We lack innovation. We're definitely money hungry. We are some texturizing bigots. We're only focused about us. We're definitely bitter, and we are underperformers, and we are very jealous. So no one put a thumbs up in the chat. Not one person. Okay, so I'm not quite sure. Are they afraid to say if that's true or not? So the chat is very neutral. We'll see what happens post the live. Are you guys gonna agree or disagree? There's always room for betterment. Okay, we have one licensed professional who kept it 100. There is always room for betterment, though, and that's for everybody. Okay, all right. So that's a nice segue. I like the way you put that, Ebony. She was real, like, kind of neutral. So the topic today is about Afro hair being first. So how I'm going to get this conversation going is I need to play that clip from last week. Okay, last week was it kind of built up to this moment. Afro cosmetology is very important, and we know this by what's taking place across the United States of America. This is not happening in any other place except the United States, where cosmetology is in the process of like losing its licensureship because there are some powers that be in our political arena who do not believe we need any of the education that Cheryl is going to be introducing us to, but we think otherwise. All right, and so what happens is that when we're taught hair, now what I did was I actually brought a book, and this one is endorsed by Milady's Book of Cosmetology. As a matter of fact, this is their version of Afro hair cosmetology, and it's called African and Curly Hair Types from a Cross Cultural Perspective. Cross cultural. There's no science in this book. This is culture, okay? All right, and so we start off with the cross section of the hair. And what I'm going to do is play a clip. And if you are a licensed professional or if you specialize in skin, then you could be an esthetician as well. You may be familiar with this. So, sure, I'm going to play this clip, and then you're going to kind of take us back a little bit. And now, if you are a licensed cosmetologist, you know what? We really would love to hear from you guys. If you are a barber, maybe you are a cosmetology student or a barber student, this is a perfect time to chime in and we can begin to unify and debunk some of this stuff. So let me just go back to the clip here. And this clip is about where we get our texture. We have straight hair, we have wavy hair, and then we have Afro curly hair. So, and we are taught this. Here we go.
Asians and Europeans mainly have straight follicles. As a result, cross sections of black hair appear elliptical or flattened, while white hair is oval and Asian is round.
What you talking about, Willis?
Okay. What you talking about, Cheryl? We have been taught this consistently in cosmetology school, and barbers are taught it as well. And so last week, and maybe the week before, you've kind of said this on several occasions that that you have a problem with that science, because that would that be science? What she just said?
It's scientific,
Scientific.
but
Okay, so let me just show you before you go into that, just to support that this is in our books, okay? So everything that she just said is in our books. So Cheryl is saying that it is scientific, okay? So we are taught this. And what's your, because I'd have wrote a book with that in there too. What's your problem? Come on. Now we got 10 people. We about to get at it because I want to
Okay.
know. Now, Cheryl, you my sister, but you know you done rubbed me the wrong because I done spent all this money on this printing this book, and I have that same stuff in my book. So, so don't feel
Yeah.
bad, guys. So Cheryl, I'm gonna mute my mic, and we're just gonna start right there because that is what we are taught, where we get our texture, hair textures from. So Cheryl, what's wrong with that scientific fact or theory or whatever? I'm gonna mute it out. Take it away.
I hope you guys can hear me clearly, and in real time. I hope my voice is going with my lips. Um, I don't have a problem with it per se. Here's the thing is that because Afro textured hair is always taught in a way that includes the, as the book says, in this cross intersectional, as as it belongs in this spectrum of straight hairedness. And when you teach it out of context like that, then African descending people kind of get the notion that they're on the outer outskirts, or they're marginalized, they're just stuck in, because you're actually making the round hair as if most people on the planet have that. And Afro curly hair is somewhat marginalized, and it's on the fringe, and it's unique, and it's um, rare, and it is just the way it's talked about is talked about in a fashion that it is a culture, and unto to unto itself. The problem with that is that you don't give credence or scientific credence for the right order of how Afro-ness fits in to the picture. And I want to be able to say to everyone on the on here on the call with us is that Afro textures is the mother gamut. It is first in terms of that it is the only dominant expression, and every other texture exists because of the Afro textured hair. It does not. No other hair is. There is no genetic code for straight hair. It is only a weak, a recession, recessive gene expression because of the dominant Afro curly hair type. So all hair, first hair, real hair, natural hair, since natural hair care people want to call it that. If you want to create a entity such as natural, okay, then you have to use Afroness as the mother or the parent genes that every other gene expresses itself inside that. So they're actually really scientifically speaking, there is only one scientific subject here, and that is Afro curly hair. Every other hair is just an expression of that. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. But now I'm gonna tell you now. Remember, guys, this is just me talking. Now, feel free. I see you guys are in the chat, and the topic today is about the science of Afro textured hair. And as Cheryl just pointed out to you, this is the first texture. Now, I'm gonna tell you when I first heard Cheryl say that, I really had this. I got jitters in the bottom of my stomach because I did not want to appear racist.
Mhm.
And I was afraid that if we start trying to change this, because you're talking about really reshifting a whole educational uh, really theology, because this is
Mhm.
our Bible.
Mhm.
You know, this is our Bible. So you're talking about changing something that is telling us that that oval is straight, and that the you know, I mean, the circle is straight, the oval is wavy, the elliptical may be, you know, curly. And so we do have, oh, you can't hear me, sorry. Okay, how's this? Can you hear me now? Sorry, guys. So we do have this fear, or something that's making us feel very uncomfortable, as black people, as African people, also, to say that our hair texture is first, and that the other textures are expressions of the first texture. So, speak.
One of the things, and believe me, I know the information is kind of disjointed because you don't have the whole Afro cosmetology presentation. You don't have the, and let me just say this too. Most people don't realize that Afro curly hair is a natural bio blueprint. Everything in nature is akin to a coil prototype. The coil prototype is how nature unfolds. Nature does not become unfolded and then it folds. It starts coiled and then unfolds. The dominant must exist first because it is both monogenetic origins creates two dominant pairs. Afro curly hair is a dominant it is the first natural cosmic version of how genes express itself. They must thick lips, big lips, wide nose, brown eyes, all phenotypical traits are always they start dominant. Then they have the spectrum, but nature creates the dominant first. Then the spectrum because becomes a variety of mixtures. It doesn't start the way they introduce straight hair as if curly hair is just a separate entity, and then it's always juxtaposed as an opposite of straight hair. So straight hair becomes the epicenter of everybody else's texture. And they don't understand that straight hair is the last spectrum. And it is a gene expression, but it is so recessive that makes it straight. And when you microscopically, any microscopy of a straight hair is cylinder. Okay. Now, here's the thing. When they even create diagrams of follicles, ironically, the way they they even depict in diagrams in their anatomy, they create straight hair when it comes out of the follicle. What does straight hair do? For some reason, in their anatomically correction or trying to be scientifically aligned, what they end up doing is that they make the white hair or hair of white individuals that have recessiveness, what they do is they give it a dominant nature. They make the hair stand up. Straight hair does not stand up. So even in
Okay.
their anatomically correct depictions, they are somewhat giving you a version of what they want you to believe or what they want to give you. And these are anatomically correct. Um, these are people who make anatomically models, they make posters, they make anatomy books, Gray's Anatomy, and all these people who create these diagrams of the heart and skin and lips and teeth. They're doing it just like they do the map of the earth. They under accentuate, over accentuate. They never put things correctly to be able to make European individuals the way they actually are. And then they under accentuate how Africans are. And so they're trying to give you a context that fits a narrative, like they are in the middle of the human family. And they don't realize that there's a spectrum of gene expression. And Africans, Afrocentric, Afro um, um, regardless of Afro ancestral, there is always a dot, a center, a start, a first, an order. Now, Europeans seem to think that they're going to classify human beings. They're the first one who ever classified it, gave it a taxonomy. And so, but they put themselves in the middle, or they put themselves in the first, or they put themselves, because we read left to right. Left is first, right is last. Okay. But in the biological world, in the ecosystem world, in the celestial world or biospheric world, that is not scientifically correct. So when you teach cosmetology, it's very difficult to get Afro minds, Afro people, the African descending people on the same page, and to not have this kind of um, order, because it causes us to talk about ourselves as if we are on the outskirts and we're not in the right, in the middle. We are the prototype makers of genes that express themselves. When nature expresses itself, it expresses itself from the dominant to the recessive, not the recessive to the dominant. And that is my point. You're muted.
Okay. I hope I'm sounding good, Teresa. Let me know how am I sounding pretty good here. I don't want to. The last one, my mouth was all up to the thing. I messed that up. But anywho, I'm trying to get through all these mics. But anywho, um, so what I would like to do, because I know for a lot, let me just speak for myself. For me, again, this really was a hard pill to swallow, because when we are taught cosmetology, and again, this is Milady's book of cosmetology, and this one here is about, again, the cultural perspective of Afro hair. But let me just read to you what the people who put this book together. They actually have a disclaimer, in their book,
Mm-hmm.
because this is some, and I think this speaks to oh shoot, where to go? Uh, why I was just a little bit. Hold up, sorry guys, I done lost the page. Oh gosh, oh, it went somewhere. Anywho, where'd it go? Let me see if it's not on here. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. So basically, in the credits of this book, right here,
Mm-hmm.
what they're saying, to Cheryl's point, um, they're basically saying they're going to discredit from the very beginning that the science that Cheryl is talking about, they are actually saying, you know what, we can't find that science that Cheryl is saying. Although every effort has been made to contact copyright holders before publications, this has not always been possible. If noted, the publisher will undertake the ready and any errors or corrections uh, when they have an opportunity. So they're telling you before you even get ready to crack this book open, that the stuff that Cheryl is talking about, this publisher is saying, we could find no Cheryl Morrow.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the best that we can give you. So Cheryl, where are you getting your science from that Afro hair was first? Because these are our publishers, and this is the book only in America. I think Pivot Point has a book, but I believe there are only two or three. I'm gonna say two. If I'm wrong, please correct me. There are only two books that we use here in the United States. This is Milady's African, for African textured hair, Caribbean. All right. So they say, Cheryl, we can't put that in these books because we don't. So tell us, where do you get your theory that Afro hair is first?
Good question. Very good question. I want people to understand that I have studied human biology, human anthropology, human genetic science. Okay. One of the things too, that I was raised in a Afrophilia household, and Mr. Morrow, being a hair scientist, only was um, interested in studying human development, not just biology, the study of plants, but ontology, why things exist. And so when you go and you study Black people and the history of Black people on the planet, and when you understand how you connect all of chemistry, um, all of the variations of genetic science, you begin to match things with each other. And because one of the wonderful things about scripture and religion and science, they copy each other, but the information is hidden, and not hidden in terms of a secret society. The key here is that most science, and then you have to also study language and you have to study history, because there is, in a racist society, they would, they don't have, there's nothing in it for power systems and European systems to talk about people or talk about them in a philia, or any erotic or any agape way. They don't talk about people they are not a part of. They don't talk about them in a very loving, human, in any humane or humility. So you have to go with that search on your own. And so when you talk about um, individuals who have taken these expeditions and explorations and dug up um, mummies, or they've dug up people, right? And I remember asking my father, I could have been no more than 12, right? And I says, Dad, why, if white people don't like Black people, if they have a problem, or they just not interested and they just ignore them, or they, white supremacy, hey, they're interested in themselves, right? Why are they fascinated by digging up Black people? I wouldn't, race, you would think that white supremacy would be fixated on only digging up white people. But, in that conversation, you begin to study the human family. And the human family was Black so long. And when you understand that in societies and like European systems, they create conversations in their scientific books, in their medical books, their biological books, their physics books, their mathematic, their math books, their geometric books, geometry, alchemy, and you begin to see a common thread. And the common thread is the Black body. And they're very fascinated with how those things come to be. And when you go see skeletons, and you begin to see mummies, and you begin to see buried people, they have similar phenotraits. And hair is a phenotrait. It's a phenotype in terms of, but when you connect them in time, implements, I think in the Met on Fifth Avenue in New York, when you go see Egyptian exhibits, always go look at the implements. The implements are very early and very signs of the tools that they created are conducive to the textures and the lifestyle and their human form. And so you would not find combs in Europe, but you find combs in Africa. And so when you understand that hair and skin and nose, like just like the book on the cover of that book, it's subtle, but the book or the noses on those three women are very European. So they are finding women and features. Features are very important, guys. Maybe make sure you understand that cover is not by accident. Those features, their features are very recessed, which means that, you know, and even let me just say this, Ethiopians and Eritreans and East Africans, they have very what we call European features, what white people would call European features. But that just goes to show us, uh, in the terms of the conversation, there is no one way to look African. And even African people have very small lips and very keen, thin noses, which means, people, that even Europeans, their features are not European, because those features are on the oldest human beings on earth, which means that they are just a variation of the human family on the spectrum. They're not in and of themselves. And that, once you study biology and science and chemistry and math and history and linguistics and you anthropology and you understand geographical areas, and so you put all those things together, and that is what made me become an Afro cosmetologist, in terms of making sure African people understood that, yes, you are the physician of cosmetics, and you must understand also the whole compass, just to get the big picture here.
All right. Now, I know some of you guys are like, "Wow, that's pretty heavy." That
It
Cheryl
is.
would, she would go this deep into the science of Afro hair. But let's hear this from another perspective. So let me just put in case you guys hold up, wait 1 second here. Let me just, okay, here we go. Um, all right, so let's hear what another expert has to say about what Cheryl said.
So, what does science tell us about human origins? Well, it's quite extraordinary, I think, where we're at now and what we do know about human origins. Humans had evolved on the planet just like every other life form, but the evidence for that happening was very, very thin on the ground. And now we have an extraordinary amount of evidence. We have something like 20 named hominin species, all based on various fossil finds. Our story is nestled within the story of life on Earth, on the planet. And we know, for instance, that humans originated in Africa. And actually, Darwin did guess that and got it right.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow. Wow. All right. There you guys have it.
And here's the thing. And let me just give you, I had the chance of knowing Sheikh Anta Diop, and that's Diop. He's a Senegalese scientist. Please study him and get all the YouTube videos you can. But I studied under the Dr. Charles Finch. But one of the funny things is, about this conversation, is that white people with straight hair, please, people, you can Google it, did not start wearing their own hair in their natural state, which is straight, until 1900. This is 20th century. They were curling. I mean, it was mandatory that they curl their hair like you. And so you don't necessarily, it's a real slippery slope, because they themselves did not feel comfortable with wearing their hair straight down. They were until the 20th century, and you're only talking about 100 years ago. And so, why are we talking about, and I think that you hit it on the head, Ladosha, which is a whole other conversation. I think that Black people have a phobia about even talking about it. And I think that the first phobia that we have to deal with is that Black people are afraid to accept their own place in human anatomy.
Wow, McCombs girl, I think you are always jamming on the one. And it is about controlling the narrative. But
Mhm,
in case people are wondering, in the clip, that was Dr. Roberts, and she is a biological anthropologist, and she's out of the University of Birmingham in the UK. And so there you have it, two people from two different spectrums. You have Dr. Roberts all the way over here as a biological anthropologist, and you have Dr. Cheryl Morrow over here as a Afro cosmetologist. And you see what happens? The science, it does what? It actually
mhm,
matches to
mhm,
a T.
mhm,
And so we have to address McCombs girl, our fear. I don't know. Do anybody have any thoughts around our fears as African Americans, and maybe even just Africans in general? Um, why do we have this fear of accepting the science that Cheryl just said when it comes to genetic expression? So as we wait for some people to answer that in the chat, because that's a heavy question to ask, and you may
mhm,
have to marinate on that and come back.
mhm,
But I'm just speaking for myself. I felt extremely uncomfortable, and I'm going to
mhm,
tell you. I'm going to just speak for myself. The first reason I felt uncomfortable because a black person said it. For some reason, when white people say things, it seems like it's more credible. I'm speaking for me. So I had an issue with Cheryl as a black woman. Like, she don't know what the hell she talking about. She just light skinned with big lips, and she lucky she almost black. Cause some of that stuff is true. That bigot, okay? I'm talking about myself now, okay? So I looked at her and I said, as a black woman, she wasn't credible.
mhm,
Thank you, McCombs. I'm just keeping it 100. I'm not scared to tell the truth. I did not trust her as a black woman. She doesn't have, she's not a biological anthropologist.
mhm,
She's a damn cosmetologist, a
mhm,
doctorate in cosmetologist. So that was
mhm,
one. And then number two, it meant that I was going to have to raise the bar of
mhm,
my comfort level as a cosmetologist who I used to tout that I was specializing in trichology. I don't do that anymore because I've learned so much from working with Cheryl. So my
mhm,
first, this is me personally, and oh, we have a, okay, all right, we got a comment in the chat. Again, I'm just gonna say again, I did not trust her. I did not
mhm,
think she was very credible as a black woman because
mhm,
she was just a cosmetologist. And then
mhm,
number two, it was going to, I was going to have to, raise the bar on my performance as a
mhm.
licensed professional, and that was making me feel uncomfortable because I like being Key Lolo. It was cool, just silk pressing. Y'all see all these. Come on, I'm not the only cosmetologist. I'm not the only licensed professional. I was comfortable with my palm and all of my, grapeseed oil. I was guilty of it too. I was immersed in um, the cosmetology of the straight hair being the dominant texture, or at least the first one. And so now we have something new here that's new to us. But as you can see from the white people, if you're one of those people like me who just have to hear it from white people first, I'm going to play it one more time so you guys can hear that the exact same thing Cheryl just said, a white person with a fancier title called biological anthropologists had this to say about Afro hair being first by teaching us who were the first people on the planet. And we know that hair accompanied it because Cheryl just explained to us all the artifacts has this hair on it. So let me just play it one more again so you guys can hear what the white people say.
So, what does science tell us about human origins? Well, it's quite extraordinary, I think, where we're at now and what we do know about human origins. Humans had evolved on the planet just like every other life form, but the evidence for that happening was very, very thin on the ground. And now we have an extraordinary amount of evidence. We have something like 20 named hominin species, all based on various fossil finds. Our story is nestled within the story of life on Earth, on the planet. And we know, for instance, that humans originated in Africa. And actually, Darwin did guess that and got it right.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. So that's Dr. Alice Roberts. You all are more than welcome to go, as we would say, check the source. She is a certified bona fidecist, as I've made that word up, a biological anthropologist coming out of the University of Birmingham in the UK. So feel comfortable in your space. But remember, this is just the beginning, and this is why Cheryl and I, we are on a quest. We're going to be the first people to really introduce Afro cosmetology, to the world. And we're going to invite you in various ways that you can learn about why this hair was first and why it's so important that we begin to kind of maybe change some of these myths about black hairstylists. So, Black Beauty Culture of Nova Scotia, she had this to say. Let me just post that. She says, I said we are all Africans. And our last BBC meeting, the room got quiet. So she says we are all Africans. And you know what? Let me just tell you this, Black Beauty Culture of Nova Scotia. When you go to Africa, they say the same thing. They just say we look different. Everybody's an African. So so there
You
you
know,
have it.
it's amazing how even in her own tripping over her words, she was not really trying to say it, and then she throws it at Darwin, and he guessed it. He got it right. He just guessed it, and then every anthropologist just gave up the whole racist connotation and just decided, okay, well, we know life began in Africa. But as we go deeper into Afro cosmetology, I do give context to this. This is just not a statement just in and of itself. It is something to ponder. But when you are first, then that must mean that we have to now pay attention to the African information that was left for us. Yes, heirs, right? Left for us. And it is up for us as cosmetologists to decipher shapes, patterns, numbers, nature. What does it say about what we are dealing with when it becomes to human forms? I don't know if even our cosmetic architecture on how we build homes in Africa has a cosmetic patterns to it. Us as cosmetologists, yeah, we design hair, we style hair, we manipulate it, we create patterns and we braid, and people are amazed on how we can create these grids on the scalp and all these designs. But I want you to pay attention to history. It's very important. Go to, after this call, if you Google European hairstyles from 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, and 19th century, and see how close and how much Europe adored you. copied you. The styles, the natural styles that we wear today, they look like European styles of 1700. So, yes, we can, Afro cosmetology invites the all, we are all African. You're just the parent, which means that you're just the start of the human family. But you cannot talk about yourselves in a outside, fringed, marginalized way. It is inappropriate right now. Now that the planet has the most people of color and black people on the planet now, we have got to get the conversation to a place where straight haired people are comfortable, but most importantly, that Afro textured, nappy, coily, kinky, whatever hair you want to call it, it has its rightful place so we can get the conversation corrected. So everything starts making sense, because it doesn't make sense. I can't teach science and chemistry to black people without first turning it right side up and teaching it so it sticks, and not and you don't have to memorize it. It does. You have to memorize it because it doesn't make sense. And so I understand that. So when we talk about the and why first is the most, how nature made it, not the way we wanted to make it, but nature made coils first. And the oldest human people, the Ataman, the Twa, the Pygmy, those hair types, even in Ethiopia, the curl is the human cosmic blueprint for how they wanted first people's hair to look. Now, why they chose that? There is some wonderful biological, logical reasons why that exists. But we just need to get on the same page with it.
Wow. This chat is on fire. I can't even begin. Well, first of all, Cheryl and I, we thank you guys. That's right, McCombs girl. Now y'all see why I call Cheryl unapologetically brilliant. This is something that, in what she's saying, it's really not a black thing anymore.
No.
This is something that's for all of us. We all need to be taught the proper way. Like she said, the standard is just that. It's a standard.
Yeah.
But when you
I
go,
also I want you guys to make sure that you do. I want you to go study um, the Greek and Romans. Do you guys realize the holier, smarter, or higher rank one's knowledge and wisdom became, they depict themselves with coiled hair. They were never, Greeks and Romans never had straight hair. They never made themselves with straight hair because coil was akin to Christos, wise, wisdom, all knowing, illumined, aware. So they would award the statue or the people with the coiled, the coiled was the reason why they would put that in. The more coils, Socrates, Aristotle, Hermes, Agristos, in any holy, anything holy, or that they deemed very well knowledged, they would just curl the hair.
boy, boy, you dropped a bomb on me, baby. Whoo, whoo. Maybe I shouldn't have sang that one, considering what that song was really all about.
Oh yeah.
Um, Anywho, um, I really have no words, but I would like to move the conversation a little bit along.
Yes.
And you guys, your comments. McCombs girl is like, she ain't listen to that white lady. I don't care what she said. She's not feeling the whole Darwinism. I ain't never heard this one right here. She says, we got Cheddar Man. Let me come back down to this. I'm going to move past it. But McCombs, let me just put it right here, right quick, man. Y'all be deep up in here, man. Hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, wrong one. Hold on. I'm like, y'all just, they be going like Kanye West. They be going ham. She said, and Francis Gatton, eugenics was Darwin's cousin. So she ain't listening to that lady. Woo! Don't be so mean. Don't be so mean up in here. I'm telling you guys, this podcast, this is the platform of the future. We are moving our textured hair in its proper direction.
Absolutely.
We're
Absolutely.
putting it in its proper place, and we need to do this because, as you guys can see, now remember, this book is our Afro. This is the Afro hair version of Milady's Book of Cosmetology, and they're actually calling this African and curly types from a cross cultural perspective. And at the beginning of the book, they're telling you we can't find anything to kind of refute what we've already been teaching. And Cheryl has just told you that's a lie, okay? They're just not really asking the right people. And maybe they don't know Cheryl exists,
And,
okay?
and
That.
let me say this: they're lying. They're lying. I'm gonna tell you why they're lying. Okay, all right, and I'm gonna prove why they're lying. Hair is a fiber. Hair is a fiber. Okay, and human beings are not the only one with hair. Am I correct? And because they have a fascination with fashion, right? They have a fascination with fabric. So, do you realize that they have done more science on linen, cotton, wool, any animal on the planet that they can make fabric out of? They have done the science. Now, Black people, if you go Google cotton fibers or microscopic cotton fibers, when you see that, you will know where they have studied fibers extensively, but they will not give you, as a Black person, they will not give you any second worth of separate science with your hair. And so it is totally up to a Dr. Morrow and a Dr. Cheryl Morrow. It is my responsibility to bring this to the forefront because at the end of the day, I'm only concerned. And ironically, what did Black people pick to make the Western world the economic giant that it is? Cotton. But they would study cotton and not study you. And so that is where cotton is the closest fiber microscopically that depicts the human hair of an African. Then the second depiction is wool of a sheep, of a lamb. And so they've done the research. They've done all types of science on lamb's wool, lamb skins, cowhide, horse hair, all of that. They've done all the research, but they will not, they will not do any research. And they don't have to, because I have my family has done all the research on Afro textured hair that we need to do. We just need to be able to get on the same page and make sure that, yeah, they're lying. They have done the research on cotton fibers. They know
Oh,
where that's where they got the pictures from. That's why they know that any hair that coils, kinks, naps, curls, spirals is akin to cotton. They know that. And so that is where they getting the elliptic, and they're getting this flattened circle as they make it germane to African humans' hair. But they won't go human; they'll just go to the plant cotton and say, "Oh, that's all we need to know."
all right. So let's. That's what she's now. She's saying that they are doing some. They are looking at us. All right. So let's hear what a modern day
Okay.
doctor has to say about Afro. I know we're a little bit over, but since you guys are feeling it, Y'all just rock with. We're going to keep her for a few more minutes. Here we go. So we're talking about modern day. Get ready, McCombs girl. Here's another interesting, to Cheryl's point. They are. This book says, well, we can't find no Cheryl Morrows. We don't know what Cheryl is talking about. But if you let us know, we'll make some changes, okay? So let's hear what a modern day doctor has to say about her research on Afro textured hair. Here we go.
So let's start with the pathology. So when you look at Afro ethnic hair and you go along the hair strand, it's not equal diameter along it. For every twist and turn, there is a change in diameter of the actual hair strand. So it becomes thinner where the twists are happening. And if you do a cross section of African descent hair, it's an ellipsoid shape rather than a cylindrical shape, which is what Caucasian hair has.
I love the accent. And that's Vanita, you know. Dun, 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 dun. She said Vanita the Beast. So this is Dr. Vanita Rattan. And I love the way she articulates. She sounds very, like, ooh, something that black people don't talk. So remember, I'm talking about myself. So you guys can go ahead on and beat me up, but I'm just telling the truth according to proof. I would, McCombs girl, McComb, you better get on up out of here now. Here she goes, Cheryl. I love this podcast. I hope y'all stay with me and Cheryl for a long time. Hold on. McCombs, McComb, go
There
on,
you go.
girl. Go on, girl.
There you go.
Okay. But let me just say, wait a minute, Cheryl. Wait, McComb, don't you say nothing, McComb, let me get it out. I'm just talking about me. I would have trusted her because, number one, she was that Indian, that Asian, that look. I love the accent. I love the words that she chose to use of the ellipticated. It just sounds real, like, oh, she's saying something. Oh, let me add this. So I would trust her before I would trust Cheryl, because Cheryl, she got a little attitude, she black and she's just a hairstylist. So let me play that clip again because some people probably just came in. And then Cheryl, let's speak to the pathology that she's talking about. Here we go.
So let's start with the pathology. So when you look at Afro ethnic hair and you go along the hair strand, it's not equal diameter along it. For every twist and turn, there is a change in diameter of the actual hair strand. So it becomes thinner where the twists are happening. And if you do a cross section of African descent hair, it's an ellipsoid shape rather than a cylindrical shape, which is what Caucasian hair has.
I love that talk.
Now,
let me mute it. Go ahead. Gil.
Do you know why that's important?
I don't know, but when white people say it sounds like they understand us as black people. I'm just saying, y'all scared. Y'all ain't saying nothing in the chat. I'm not the only hairstylist. When white people come in and teach us, McCall, you go. I'm trying to get it. I'm sorry, y'all.
Oh.
Okay. McCall, can you just come out the chat for 1 minute? Get it out. I'm sorry.
She ain't having it.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. This real life. This is probably the worst podcast. We hope you guys don't tune us off. Okay. Okay. So, we got it out. McComb, okay. All right. So, Cheryl, talk to us about her explanation because we do hear this, especially when white people come in. And
I don't know why it's important. I know that it's a very good hypnotic introduction, like you know what you're talking about, but I don't know why that's important or other than to um, lull us into some kind of importance to make her point. And let me just say this: if I was sharing a panel with her, I don't know why we need to know that. And let me just say this too. They all make sure they want to tell black people that the shape is special. And I will say the shape is not relevant if you do not teach them the power and the scientific nature of a coil. I don't understand why we are talking about the shape as if the shape does something for us in terms of it's disjointed. I want to
Because let me interrupt. Because it's difficult to manage and you know it. That's why we're saying that. They're trying to let us understand the science of why our hair is difficult to manage. So that's why they keep
no,
talking
it's
about
not
the
difficult to
oh
manage.
sure. Hold on, Ebony.
Oh, uh-oh. Come on, Ebony. Come on, sure. Ebony. You know I'm gonna get her. Okay. I'm with McCombs, girl. Ebony, we're not having it. We're not having it. Okay. We don't need to know a dot, a circle. Don't get up there on the chalkboard and tell me that this is this way and then sit down. Like you said something. You know what I mean? We want to understand the function first. We want to know the historicity of why it exists the way it does. Then you show us a dot. Don't show us a dot and then make this strand and then it gets thin at the twist. We don't need to know that until we need to know that why nature, cosmology, biology, science, math. We want to know why there's a such thing called curl math in terms of how biosystems come to be, why seeds look the way they look, and why does everything coil. Give me the function of why nature created this particular dominant gene expression. Why is the first expression a nap? Something that black people hate. Black people have a disdain for. Why does nature love this and black people does not? Why is that? Why do we have a Afrophobia towards something nature loves? Why do we have a nature and a hatred for something that Europeans spent 4 to 5 to 2 to 1,000 years of loving? And why do we now, at this time, space, and reality, do not? Those are the questions. I can give a damn about putting a splat and another splat up there and then want to be, like I understand it. And we have got to move past that. That's my point. All right, Ebony and McCombs girl. Keep low.
I'm still here. I ain't scared. I'm like Bernie Mac. I ain't scared of you, mother. I ain't scared. I ain't scared about my ignorance. I'm not scared because
Yeah,
it's my kind of ignorance.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's my kind of ignorance. It's why we have a natural hair movement. Now,
Absolutely.
I'm being very bold because I was marching. I had my marching orders from this book, and this is written. This is by Sandra Gittins, by the way. All right. So Sandra Gittins is a cosmetologist out of the Caribbeans, very, very highly respected. But you know how Denzel Washington said, "King Kong ain't got nothing." Okay. Sandra Gittens ain't got nothing on Cheryl Morrow. So we need to find out, I'm not saying go search now. Don't y'all go hunt down Sandra Gittens. Now leave her alone. Stop McCombs, girl. Get off that. Stop Googling her, okay? Don't y'all be Googling Sandra Sandragittens. Don't go searching for Sandragittens. Because she is the author. She is the person who they paid to put this book together. And so I have my marching orders to go out and promulgate and promote natural hair. And so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because it's the perfect segue into our topic next week. Because now you guys have a glimpse of Afro cosmetology. And Cheryl and I, we're going to be bringing this science to Cleveland. We're going to have our very first beauty and barber conclave, if you will. Conclave is like a meeting. And so we're going to come together. We're going to invite everybody to ascend upon Cleveland, Ohio, and let's set the record straight with Afro cosmetology so that we can level up our expertise as licensed cosmetologists. Remember, this is not a black thing. This is for everybody per Black Beauty Culture of Nova Scotia. This conclave is for all beauty and barber professionals. We are going to do like Biz Markie. We're going to erase racism. All right? We're going to erase the racism and that's segregating us and keeping us from who we are. And that's as a united group of individuals that only Afro cosmetology can begin to bring us together, because the future of cosmetology is going to be an individuality. I tell you that much. Cookie cutting people, that's going to be out of the way, and we can only address this if we start off with the science that Cheryl brings to the table. So with that being said, oh, she said, and Nova Scotia. All right, we're going to drop Nova Scotia in that too, all right? So we're going to get that conclave going right here in Cleveland, Ohio. We're going to hop it on over to Nova Scotia. And so next week, we're going to start off. This is going to be a whole brand new year. And Cheryl, maybe, I think, let me see, what's next week? I don't think we'll be into the new year next week, will we? I don't think so. Let me see. Next Monday. Oh, yeah. Monday is going to be January 2nd. Right. So we're going to be in the new year. So what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of recap a little bit of 2022.
Yes.
Because 2022 was the year, I had a theme. So every year I have a theme. So last year was the year of solutions. That's this year, 2022. All right. We're going to recap some of those solutions with the dumbest ish that people say about black hair. All right. Excellent. And then we're going to go into the 2023 is going to be the year of understanding. So what they don't, I'm sorry. So the dumbest that people say about black hair, this is the year of understanding. Understanding is what this podcast is going to be all about in 2023. And we're going to start off trying to understand what, wait a minute, hold on. I got to pause right quick. We got to give a super duper duper shout out. Let me put her up here right quick. This my number one stunner. What's up, Judy? My girl, what's up, my favorite Canadian babe? How are you doing? Happy holidays, happy new year, and all that good stuff. So, and she's from Canada too, by the way, okay? So we're making our way to Canada. Don't worry, guys, we're coming. Don't worry, we are coming. But next week, we're going to be in the new year. We're going to recap the year of solutions with some topics that we covered in the podcast, right? And then we're going to start the new year off. We're going to just clear it up for once and for all to give you guys an understanding, because Cheryl's going to break it down. What the hell is natural hair? That's what we want. How do we get here? How do we get where natural hair is different from cosmetology? How does book get kicked out of the regular Milady's Book of Cosmetology? How do we end up with natural hair? What is it? How do we get here? Should we have this type of a book? All right, okay. Can we just make it all one? Cheryl is going to help us.
And I want to just make a funny, since I got the number one Canadian sister on. I just want to know. I want you guys to know the things that I talk about during a week with cosmetologists, and I wanted. We were talking about baby hair, and so we were talking about it, and they asked me, "Well, why? Do you have a problem with baby hair?" And I asked them, you know, and they told me to get scientific with it. This is just a funny. I'm just saying it because I remember because some of the questions I sometimes answer a question with a question, and so I said, "Why do you think you have baby hair on the front, and then you got a kitchen in the back, and you got adult women walking around with baby hair? Only black women got a hairline that you know is different from the back. What's the difference between the back? Why you guys don't like the hair on your back of your neck, but you love the hair on the front of your head?" And that's why we need Afro cosmetology because we even don't. I mean, we want to hide this hair, but then we want to showcase it. I mean, we just have phobias. I think that we just have things going on with ourselves that are just ridiculous. I mean, we can't even have a natural biological process. We got that. We can't like it, and so this is the year of solutions. I mean, Ladosha, first of all, I would like to say, sister, thank you for just being um, your most brilliant self because one of the things that because you can be honest and you can bring it just balances because what we don't know you have to be vulnerable and even to ask the question so you can know.
Right.
And Afro cosmetology has never been taught in the history of mankind, and we're going to teach it, and so we can understand ourselves and start creating a love affair about the way we look.
All right. So I got to correct you a little bit. This year is the year of understanding.
Oh,
So
this
yeah,
is coming up.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is it. Yeah. So 2023 is going to be the year of understanding. 2022 was the year of solutions.
Solutions.
Cheryl
Yes.
brought us a lot of solutions. As you could just see, we wrapped it up with a wonderful solution by understanding why Afro hair, texture hair is first. It's the mother texture. Somebody did put in the chat that they call it the mother texture. Okay, so let me put that up in here. So
Absolutely.
we
Call it
we
by its name.
appreciate, yeah, call it by its name. So we appreciate you guys. Wait, here she goes right here. Oh, that's Black Beauty Culture. Oh no, who said that? Yeah, here she go. Oh, that was McComb girl. We should have known it was you. McComb girl, you do everything right. Here you go. Here she go. Oh well, there you go. There it is. She
I
used mother texture because it's factual. It's science.
thank you.
You are absolutely right, McCombs girl. We're going to be back in 2023 and we're going to get this party started quickly, right? And we're going to
And
be
I promise,
asking.
I promise, I'll get some slides. I'm gonna start giving the slides to Ladosha. We'll have them, and then so we can put things in context, so we can have the year of understanding.
All right, so 2023 kicks off the year of understanding, and we're going to start it off by asking or and answering. Let's get a clear understanding what the ham sandwich is. Natural hair. The point
Absolutely.
that we had a natural hair movement. All right, guys. Happy New Year. All right. Feliz Navidad. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Umoja. That's a Baragani. That's the word for the day. Umoja. We just had some unity here. You know what I
Absolutely.
say? As Cheryl and I, we both say when we're always signing out, we're always talking about a whole lot of peace, a whole lot of love. I'm going to do a manicure, don't worry. And a whole lot of hair. But check this out. If you ain't got no hair, don't want no hair, can't stand hair, hell, you plan on cutting it off in 2023, you know what we say? Don't worry about that or your bald spots because all of that is beautiful too, and so are you. Deuces, Happy New Year.